Hi everyone, my name is Evren Bayruk. I'm an SAP and Azure Cloud Solution Architect from Microsoft Partner Success Team. I am an SAP certified consultant, and I'm also Microsoft certified across SAP AI, DevOps, Azure Administration, and Azure Security. I have more than 15 years of SAP experience in both IaaS and PaaS. So I work with Microsoft partners in effort to help our partners successfully move their customers' SAP workloads to Microsoft Azure. So today, I will cover one of the most important topics around SAP and Azure security. I'll cover cloud-based security controls for SAP and Azure and Microsoft provided security tools and all the functionalities that Microsoft provides in the Azure space today. So in today's session, I'll provide you with a coverage which will showcase how Microsoft partners can use these technologies to address customers' SAP security and compliance requirements, and also help you use these technologies to augment your existing customers' security posture on Azure, and also increase your Azure consumption revenue by leveraging these tools and functionalities. So before I start to speak about the Azure security controls, I would like to highlight about the security challenges that we have captured so far. In 2019 report, 50,000 companies exposed to hack of business critical SAP systems. Attackers know that SAP systems store large amount of confidential and sensitive data. So those bad actors, also we call them attackers. Attackers also know users on customers' network using an SAP system must have access to everything that they need to do their jobs. So at the same time, they should not have any access to important data, such as financial records or confidential information. So if an employee accidentally accesses data, they should be restricted. They could cause problems by deleting or moving something in the SAP landscape. So even a worse scenario is if someone accesses sensitive data deliberately, whether to damage their business, leak data, or commit fraud, or even ransomware. So these attackers know that for compliance reasons, in some industries like those involving health or financial data, certain types of information must be carefully protected. So they are looking for each and every gap and any kind of oversight to make sure that they can attack the systems. First, SAP security is a balancing act for protecting the SAP data and applications from unauthorized use and access, which means these attackers know this as well as the customer know. So basically, Microsoft has been working around the clock, and they're making a lot of investment to make sure that we are offering different tools, processes, and measures for security checks to protect these data. This can be SAP or non-SAP. So on the next slides, I'll cover what Microsoft can help our partners to help these partners secure their customers' SAP investments on Azure, and on top of that, all the technical benefits which our partners are going to be able to leverage, and also have a good view on how they can use Microsoft technologies to drive more revenue while they're augmenting this customer's overall security posture on Azure. Basically, I am going to be starting with the Azure networking services for SAP, as when we are talking about Azure networking services and Azure security, we are viewing products in 4 pillars. So these are connect, monitor, protect, and deliver. These are very important for our partners to know, because protection is what we are trying to achieve for security here. But without understanding the networking components, the protection is not necessarily going to drive good value, because we need to drill down into the protect layer to be able to understand and help our customers understand Azure Virtual Network concept, which is very important, as everything is built around and inside Azure Virtual Network. What it exactly does, it is providing the logical, isolated, and secure network boundary inside Microsoft Azure. So as more and more workloads start to get deployed in Azure, virtual networks become very important, because it is enabling network connectivity across the entire SAP implementation and SAP management, because we are starting to build very mission critical application on Azure, and there are going to be multiple options to address any kind of networking requirements of the customer, which is going to be bringing a lot of areas to look at to augment these networking areas. So there's some options such as like the virtual network VNet peering, using VPN gateway between two virtual networks. And as we are adding more VNets to the landscape, there are going to be many areas which Microsoft is going to be able to help our partners build secure SAP networking and security rules and functionalities for their end customers. So one of the areas is the VNet connectivity challenges. So what Microsoft has done so far is that we address common VNet connectivity challenges with a pattern has evolved is the hub and spoke networking topology. So what exactly it does, it is the pattern bringing multiple benefits, and it actually just simplifies the network connectivity in Azure by connecting the technology in the Azure backbone to make sure that the traffic is actually just running on Azure backbone and leveraging TLS transport layer socket for data in transit encryption. So this technology, as it evolves, it is going to bring a lot of other functions and tools, very important. And there are lots of areas here which our partners can definitely just leverage to help their customers augment the SAP investment, such as using Azure Front Door, Azure Traffic Manager, Azure Application Gateway. So these are the components which I would like to provide to you. However, this is not the only slide which is going to carry all the required security tools and functionalities. So basically, our partners have the liberty to use any of these components to help their end customers, in the same time increase their revenue. So I'm just going to show how you can help your customers from the technical side, and also while helping the customers augment their SAP investment, you will be able to also just increase your revenue, because each and every service that you see here is going to be coming with a cost, is going to be the price to the customer. Basically, you will be able to use Traffic Manager, you'll be able to use Network Watcher, Express Route Monitor, and every single component is going to drive revenue to the partner ecosystem. For instance, I'll speak about the Traffic Manager, which is in fact just providing DNS-based routing, but Traffic Manager is also guaranteeing that the, for example, application gateway traffic routing, the bottleneck is going to be easy, or it is going to be streamlined when you are using Traffic Manager. So while you are helping the customer with this, of course, that this is going to have a reflection on the overall revenue. First, the trust. The second thing is that you're going to be addressing the customer's requirements, and also you'll be using a lot of these technologies to address other complex challenges and requirements of the customer while increasing your revenue, such as like the Azure load balancers, which is going to allow the customer to load balance services on multiple ports, multiple IP addresses, or both. There's going to be some level of traffic coming in and coming out. This is going to be also reflected in the egress. It's also going to be you requiring to use Azure load balance in a complex environment, and this is going to be also reflected in your architecture design for the end customer. So I am not going to go into very much details here in the slide, as I would like to go component by component and give you concise information on where you can help your customer and what kind of a value that you can provide to them while you are increasing your revenue and your consumption revenue for your organization. So before I go into the details, so I would like to show you that within each solution area, your customers need to manage multiple security challenges today to be able to effectively reduce their risk. For example, the average enterprise employs around 70+ vendors for their security. So managing that complexity can really lead to gaps in coverage and also limited visibility. And it's going to be also just fragmented experiences. So in contrast, the tools that you're going to be leveraging from Microsoft as our partners, you will be able to offer a unified approach that is going to leverage both best-in-class depth and breadth for security. So by bringing these categories together into one solution that natively integrates individual layers of security, the organization that you are working with is going to be able to improve end user experiences and decrease security operational inefficiencies and reduce the risk of costly data breaches. So with this, you will be earning the trust of your end customer, plus this is going to come with a cost for the end customer, and this is going to be increasing your overall revenue for your organization. And I'll speak about all the components such as identity access management tools, application and data security, network security, all the components of the network security, and then threat protection using Microsoft Sentinel, for example, how you can secure the entire organization from threats with Azure Sentinel, which is a cloud native SIEM security information and events management solution that we have for you to utilize it for your end customer to actually just help them with the threat protection, which is going to scale to the needs of the customer, is also going to be accessed from anywhere. So the concept of the overall security and how we are actually just treating it, and then how we have the approach of the cloud DMZ, which is the layered network security approach to minimize the attack footprint of an application, is going to be core of all the services that we will be offering you as you are our partner to use it for your end customers. So basically, the DMZ architecture that we are going to be leveraging in Azure is going to be comprised with either 2 layers or 3 layers of security, and also protection concept with additional user-defined routes and firewall rules. So the network traffic to and from resources in a virtual network using network security groups and network virtual appliances are all going to be on Azure, running on Azure and leveraging Azure Backbone. So when we're looking at the cloud DMZ, it is going to be enriched with Microsoft native solutions that you will be able to use for your end customers. So I'll go through these solutions one by one. So this slide is just to give you how Microsoft is looking at it from the deployment perspective, as everything that you see here from the threat protection, identity access management, app data protection, security management, and Microsoft Defender Security, Security Center, and Microsoft Sentinel. These are all the core foundation for the zero trust security, which is the framework that provides a modern security framework to manage the complexity of your customer's organization. So a holistic approach to zero trust should extend throughout the entire digital estate. It's not only going to be for SAP, it is going to be for non-SAP as well, as when the data is breached, it is breached for the entire state. So basically, the framework that we are talking about here, which is the zero trust framework, it is going to serve as an integrated security philosophy and end-to-end strategy for your customers. So basically, you'll be able to do this implementation by using all the recommendations, which I am going to be actually just providing you in a few slides, and you will be able to actually understand what the customer's concerns are today around many aspects. So I'll speak about identities. I'm going to speak about the devices. I'm going to be also just like, talking about the data security and how you can actually just use a few single tools to leverage to help your end customers. From the data perspective, for example, I'll talk about the importance of the data at rest and data in transit, and how Microsoft can actually just use certain technologies to protect the entire tenant. For instance, that I'll talk about the DDoS protection. I'm going to be talking about the application layer security, and then how you can actually just leverage the SIEM solution, which is the Microsoft Sentinel, to protect against the threats, and also just like export those threats into a reportable environment like the Power BI. So basically, everything that I'll actually just speak about in the next slides is going to be overall summary of everything that you see here. So without further ado, let me go ahead and just show you what I got for you. So today, customer requirements for DDoS protection is something that has actually just been one of the most important focus areas for customers, because DDoS attacks are classified in 3 categories today. And it is the attempt to make an online service unavailable by exhausting its resources, as the slide reads, bandwidth and compute, but it also has more than that. The reason is that the volumetric attacks, for example, which is something that customers are concerned about, gets a lot of attention today. We are seeing multi-vector attacks are growing every day. So DDoS protection is defending against the volumetric and protocol attacks. So the resource application layer attacks is also important. It exploits vulnerabilities in the SAP application. So to be able to defend against application layer attacks, although that we are recommending our customers leverage Azure Application Gateway for layer 7 and also for the layer 3, layer 4, we are actually just bringing up the Azure Firewall, even some layer 7. But the brute force attacks are important because most of the time customers who like to secure their SAP workloads overlook very standard solutions which are available by Microsoft. And Azure DDoS standard is one of many services. So basically, by the time our partner leverages the Azure DDoS for the end customers, you're automatically increasing your revenue by just providing or enabling it, because this is going to be reflected to your customer in an invoice, is going to be part of the Azure consumption revenue. And in the same time, while you're increasing your overall revenue, you're also just helping your customer with the brute force attack protection. And also is actually the core of the DDoS attack. Why? Because customers are looking for it. So customers know that some of the key elements, such as like the ICMP protection, is not necessarily available from Azure, as this technology is an older technology and Microsoft is providing our customers with load balancers. But outside protection against brute force attacks, we're going to be definitely recommending our partners leverage DDoS standard. It is going to be helping your customer with the brute force attack protection. In the same time, you're going to be able to easily just increase your consumption revenue, because each and every tenant is going to require dedicated DDoS, so you will automatically increase your overall revenue. So basically, what is the opportunity for you? So these are the customer concerns. So I gave you a few examples. So what about what you can do? So one of the benefits of Azure Standard is not only protection against the denial of service attacks, it is also going to be providing protection against the application gateway with WAF and also the Azure Firewall. Because once you have Azure Firewall and Azure Application Gateway, you need to know that you also need to secure that area as you're the managing partner, or you're going to be doing the implementation, or you're going to be migrating the workloads. But you need to be providing the customer with best-in-class recommendation, because simplified configuration, once Azure DDoS is implemented or is actually triggered or enabled, it is going to protect all the resources on a virtual network as soon as you enable that. So no intervention or user definition is going to be required. Basically, this is not going to require you to do anything. All you need to do is, by the time the customer actually just deploys SAP on Azure, ask them to leverage Azure DDoS. As you are going to be the managing partner, since you will be also just in charge of the overall consumption for the customer, you will be able to tell the customer what is needed, what is not needed. So basically, if the client is asking you, why do I need to just use Azure DDoS? So because it's going to increase my overall consumption, all you need to tell them that it is going to be providing them with unlimited cost credit for scaling out resources in the event of an attack. The reason is why I'm saying is because the customer is already leveraging 1 or 2 DDoS protections on premises today, or they were in another cloud and they were leveraging their DDoS. What Microsoft does, no other DDoS protection provider offers, and is only offered by Microsoft, is 99.99% SLA guarantee. This is the guaranteed SLA plus 100% cost protection for an entire customer tenant at around from $3,000 a month price point. Basically, if this ROI or return on investment does not resonate with the customer, if their resources are hosted on Azure, then they will already get Azure DDoS Basic, which protects all Azure resources by default. But this keyword about the SLA and then the keyword about the egress cost chargeback is going to be absolutely just helping you in your customer conversation. So basically, they will ask you, hey, why do I need to have Azure DDoS standard? Because I can leverage Azure DDoS Basic level, which is going to come to you a lot because most of my partners are asking me. Is because Azure DDoS Basic is not going to provide you, again, with the SLAs and with also scalability, because it is based on the Azure region or data center traffic volume protection and then the scale of Azure PaaS services. Since SAP on Azure is not going to be part of the PaaS, it is going to be part of the IaaS. So you need to just ensure that SAP is going to be protected with the first layer, which is going to be Azure DDoS standard. So for the customers, we will also just recommend to onboard the DDoS standards, even if the customer is actually just running on Azure today, they're not on premises today. We are making the recommendation to each and every customer to leverage it. So let's say that you have a customer today, and then you never ever enable the DDoS protection standard. You should just speak with your customer and let them know that there's a great protection provided to them by Microsoft, and you can manage the entire DDoS protection by yourself. Is going to help the customer with the OSI protection, which is going to be providing them against the brute force attacks while you're increasing your overall revenue. This is very important. So another one is that the Azure Firewall for SAP workloads on Azure. So SAP customers, as this slide states here, that it is requiring stateful filtering of layer 3 and layer 7 network protocols. So basically, Azure Firewall does it both. So layer 3 IP protocols are required to be filtered by selecting any protocol in the network rule and select the wildcard for the port. So what the requirement from the customers are so far is that they're looking at 3 components. This is not changing. Central governance for all the traffic flows, complete VNet protection, and centralized logging. So these 3 components is not going to change for any customer anywhere in the world. If a partner goes and asks a customer today, hey, tell me about why you need to have layer 3 encryption filtering, they're gonna tell you that they need to have a built-in high availability and auto scale because they're spending a lot of money on premises today. And then they would like to have a solution which is going to be like a PaaS solution, which is the solution that they can actually just trust and is going to be scaling. They're going to be looking at network and application traffic filtering. They're going to be looking at centralized policy across VNS and subscriptions. They're going to want to have a solution to filter outbound and inbound, spoke to spoke, and hybrid connection traffic via VPN and express route. And they also want to do the archiving of the logs of the storage account. So these are the main areas. So basically, if you are looking at this slide, take it over to your customer and tell the customer that, hey, do you need any of these things? They are going to tell you, yes, we want the centralized logging, complete VNet protection, and central governance for all the traffic flow. They're going to be also very interested in egress control for the traffic going outside Azure. So you can use Azure Firewall for that purpose. You can use it for, we name it, Gateway Last Resort, or GLR. It is providing that kind of like a granular network filtering for your customers. So what you can do for them? So basically, how you can sell the solution. When we're looking at Azure Firewall, we are separating it from the traditional firewall technologies, and we really focus on this topic for our customers. So we would like our partners to also look at this topic to empower their customers, because security boundary is very important for SAP as customers are spending subscriptions and they're spending VNets. So one way to achieve security isolation on Azure is via Azure Firewall. So basically, when it was first released with the use case of supporting egress traffic from the VNet to the internet or outside world, it's really quickly grew to protect the central VNet. So you can potentially think of Azure Firewall as like a security hub, which is protecting the VNet to on-premises and also outside. So Azure Firewall itself is a cloud native service, which means it is fully managed by Microsoft. You don't need to do anything. Microsoft is going to manage it. It is a platform as a service, which means that it auto scales, is highly available. And you and your customers do not need to worry about the auto scale feature. Basically, once you are recommending the solution to your customer is going to turn over the entire inbound and outbound traffic control, completed, managed, and monitored by you. By using Azure Firewall, you will be also just leverage other technologies such as Azure Application Gateway, for example. So the complexity of this is going to require additional increase in the revenue. So Azure Firewall pricing is going to be also just defined, basically the number of concurrent users coming in. The more concurrent users are coming in, the more revenue for our partners to actually just make from that concurrent user access. So basically, we're going to be using this technology in a centralized approach, and it is going to be providing not only the inbound and outbound traffic control, it is also going to be using the DNS proxy for customers' requirement. It's a new functionality of Azure Firewall, but it is not necessarily a functionality to handle TCP over DNS for DNS tunneling scenarios. So basically, if the customer wants to leverage Azure Firewall and Azure Firewall DNS proxy, it is going to be able to help them use it to act as a proxy to receive and forward DNS requests to its resolver. So while you're doing it, you're also reducing your overall complexities for the customer, because with one tool that you're providing them a lot of things. So like there are lots of other functionalities as well, but the 4 bullet points that you see here from the top: manage network security, protecting both inbound and outbound connectivity via centralization, traffic filtering for both layer 3 and layer 7, application FQDM filtering rules, centralized logging and monitoring, leverage Azure Monitor. These are all going to be increasing your overall Azure consumption revenue for you. Basically, this is going to be something not only going to help your customers with layer 3, 4, some layer 7, but also is going to help you manage your customers' environment in a centralized approach while you're increasing your consumption. This is going to be something that I really would like you to take a look closely, because Azure Firewall has a lot of good benefits. So one of them is like east-west TLS, which is the transfer layer socket protection between east-west traffic control. So this is something lots of customers are looking at, is they would like to also make sure that the traffic inside Azure is also protected. This is the #1 reason for many customers not to move to cloud, but Microsoft has this technology now. So we are providing it to our customers, like the explicit S-netting, for example. Some customers are looking at it. So now, although that Azure Firewall is not necessarily going to help them with the explicit S-net, but it is going to be working perfectly with the NAT gateway. So basically, this is going to help your customers with a lot of things around their network requirements. So like, let's say that if they would like to leverage NAT gateway is going to be replacing the default outbound route for the subnet, so that all the traffic from the subnet where the NAT gateway resource is configured, it is going to use the IPs attached to that NAT gateway. So this alone is going to be providing your customer with a very granular network traffic control. And this is going to be wonderful for our partner ecosystem, as this is one of the most important areas for SAP customers today. So you can use this technology to provide them with that granularity while you're increasing the overall Azure consumption revenue. So another one is the Azure Application Gateway. This is as a service solution for coverage for SAP workloads on Azure, just like the Azure Firewall. So just before I forget, I would like to just mention that there are 2 versions, version 1 and version 2 for Azure Application Gateway. It is essentially a web traffic load balancer. You call it as an application delivery controller. So there's a standard option, then there's an option with WAF. If your customer is asking you, if there is any way that they can leverage WAF functionality with Azure Application Gateway, it is 100% supported. You're absolutely just getting like around 25,000, packet control, which is going to be providing them a lot of leeway to actually just expand. So basically, what it is going to do for them is that it is going to be adding additional security for HTTPS incoming traffic, which is something that they're going to be leveraging for SAP GUI, for instance. Like Azure Firewall, it is a PaaS service. It is going to auto scale just like Azure Firewall. It is going to support HTTPS, which is very important. So some of the key features is that it supports SSL offload when users come in and connect via HTTPS. So it offload to HTTP. So we can load your customers' SSL certificate in the application gateway, and then the traffic is going to redirect for the particular service, which can be transferred to HTTP. Is very important as this is being asked. So basically, these are the benefits when Azure Application Gateway is enabled for SAP workloads. So how it is going to help you is going to be, you will be providing your customers with HTTPS traffic filtering, and also the SSL certificate install for the web dispatcher in the back end. So basically, you will be not only actually providing them with layer 7, you will be providing them with a solution which is going to scale, and it is also going to give them the high availability, which they actually need to worry about on premises today. With Azure Application Gateway, they do not need to worry about it. How you are going to be able to leverage it by just including it in the reference architecture. This is going to be increasing your managed services portfolio. Is also going to be your monthly ACR by just doing the egress and ingress control, and how you are just going to be building this technology to the customer is all going to be your cost management and cost model for the customer. There's not one customer which is not going to accept Azure Application Gateway thanks to its benefits, as it actually is leveraging a lot of good functionalities. So, for example, Application Gateway in Azure Front Door, you can have mutual TLS auth support. So although it's in preview right now, this is something that you can still help your customer with the authentication for the access control. This can actually just work with SAP GUI. This can work with the regular HTTPS, logging, and then you can also just include the WAF functionality on top. It is going to be providing broader protection for this HTTPS traffic. And again, lots of benefits, such as like the core rule sets, for example. It is a fantastic protection. So if the customer actually just asks you why it is something that is needed for them, this is a key, right? Because it is a great protection for not only SAP, it is for non-SAP, as it is a very robust solution for cross-site scripting and SQL injections if they have SQL workloads also running. So the core rule set is a set of generic attack detection rules for use for mod security or compatible web application firewall. So the CRS aims to protect the web applications from a wide range of attacks, again, like including the OWASP top 10 with a minimum false alerts. I also would like to note that this Azure Firewall, Azure Application Gateway with WAF functionality is also fulfilling almost 100% of many customers' compliance requirements. So this is an opportunity for you to leverage, as it can actually just scale, and also it can be monitored with Azure Monitor. So while you are actually pitching this to your customer, you can also just speak about Azure Monitor, as Azure Monitor is closely integrated into the networking tools and functionalities, such as Azure Application Gateway, such as Azure Firewall. Then speaking about the monitoring, I need to just switch to another important area, which is the customer requirements for SAP Threat Monitoring. The reason why this is important is that today, SAP customers really require this multi-layered monitoring solution for SAP Threat Monitoring, which cover both the infrastructure layer and business application layer. Previously, this was not available. So customers were not necessarily just using Azure functions and tools, but now this is available. It is providing everything that you see here as customer requirements, like insight into SAP application transactional data, correlation across data sources, customizability. So which is the response to highly customizable S/4HANA systems data, which is generated within SAP system, and it also requires the custom monitoring. So if any of our partner, when they are interacting, the partner CSAs in your organization interact with the customer, these are three things that I would ask the customers if they need to have correlation across data sources, and you will peel the onion back. As this question alone, hey, do you need correlation across data sources, is going to be really just, raising their awareness on that, because they're going to be feeling curious as additional data sources such as network storage and identity data, such as user login repo, is something that they want to look at. So they want to also see that like security data in a place, in a platform where they can run reports on that to share with their C-level executives, like the CIO or a security officer, which is going to be something that is going to help you have very robust conversations. Plus, you'll be able to actually just provide it to your customers at a cost. Basically, you'll be able to just wrap it into the overall compute and storage consumption as a value to your customer. So basically, it is the threat monitoring. It can absolutely just be deployed in one simple package that includes all the components. So you don't need to do anything else. So sometimes some customers are asking our partners, what exactly it includes? So these are the key areas. Rich NetWeaver Data Connector, which is something that is delivered as a Docker container image. You can deploy it anywhere in the network and integrate it into network capable systems. So anyone from our partner ecosystem that knows and handles SAP basis, knowing the infrastructure of Azure, you'll be able to integrate it into your NetWeaver capable systems of your customers. So the data connector is going to then collect over like 10 different log files with SAP NetWeaver enabled systems, which is something that your customer is going to look at from the monitoring perspective. So they will be looking at like, built-in security content outside, out of the box detections is going to be something that is going to be used for catching these important SAP threats like system configuration changes, execution of these sensitive function modules, like suspicious activity by privileged, users. These are all the things that you're going to be able to actually just, leverage for your customers. So one important point is that we're going to be also leveraging the Azure storage while we are doing it. So basically, while you are providing your customer with Microsoft Sentinel solution, you will be also providing them with a robust storage solution for the customer, the archiving, for example, for the data. So you're going to be able to help them utilize the shared keys, SAS, Azure Active Directory. You'll be able to use the shared keys and SAS, and then this is going to require no identity information carrying with the request. So while you are covering a lot of good points with the Sentinel topic, you'll be able to actually just cover a lot of important areas to convince the customers' compliance and security teams. It is very important as, again, like I said, there's no identity information carrying with the request, neither on the logs. So the storage logs, which is in preview today, has identity information from OAuth token when Azure Active Directory is used to connect storage account. So you can find a lot of information on our documentations and also like, Azure reference architectures. So bottom line is that just to highlight on the value proposition of the Azure Sentinel as in a summary, that it really is a great connector tool to stream security alerts from Azure Security Center into Microsoft Sentinel. And also, again, you can use many workbooks like Azure Active Directory audit logs, activity and sign-in logs, which will provide a great insight into Azure Active Directory audit. If the customer really is looking at you as I would like to do my audit for the Azure Active Directory, you absolutely can use available workbooks so that you can use them to be leveraged by the security and Azure administrators of the customer, so that or if you are just doing this functionality by yourself, you're actually covering a lot of things for the customer from the security point of view to give them really great peace of mind on, SAP business logic, SAP application, layer such as the authentication, privilege, user access, sensitive system actions, change control, changes to the audit logging, also the settings and ABAP, like, debug on production. A lot of great administration skills as well around the overall Sentinel implementation can be done by our partner ecosystem. So you're absolutely just going to be able to wrap the overall Microsoft Sentinel pricing, which is available in our documentations and how it is actually just priced. I would immediately just reach out to your Microsoft partner development manager so that partner development manager can actually just work with you on the pricing, while my team, which is partner success team, can definitely just help with those partners, which are you, so that we can help your customers with the Microsoft Sentinel implementation, so that it is going to be providing them with a broader database layer, OS and network layer, monitoring for their investment, which is something important. So speaking all of this, so I would like to also just wrap this up. This is something that is very important for our partners to know, that Azure has all the tools and technologies to provide to you that you can leverage it for your customers. But this is not something that we can limit our skill set and functionalities, as this is a very broad topic, and each and every customer has different requirements. So from a security perspective, if your customer determines that there's a need to, for instance, inspect, twice traffic, and they're coming to you and asking you, hey, I would like to just do this double traffic, filtering. So we absolutely have solutions for this. So basically, the point that I'm trying to make here is that it is not only going to be standard solutions. We have the enterprise scale for SAP framework, which you can definitely just go to our Azure documents and just see the enterprise scale for SAP. It is a standard scalability for any standard customer today. But if the customer is not standard, or if they are looking at a custom solution, Microsoft can definitely just help you tweak these technologies and come up with a robust and solid solution, as everything is tested on Azure. So we are testing it in our own tenants, and also like our IT and our Cat engineering team is also doing a lot of testing. So we just want to make sure that it is clear that Microsoft can definitely help your customer to do the design, which is going to be addressing their requirements overall. So in summary, when we are looking at the cloud implementation, there are like various network security tools as modular. So rather than deploying a big let's say that like big appliance like firewall that does everything, you can provision and stitch together a lot of rules and functionalities to make a solution for the customer. So every single tool that you are looking, as I said about scenarios like Azure DDoS Firewall and also like Azure Application Gateway, there are lots of things that you can stitch together to increase your overall consumption revenue for your organization, while you are helping your customers with secure, robust SAP on Azure, which they are after. So, and with this, I am just going to be providing you with this reference architecture, which I built just to show you how this components actually just really work. So this is something that you can take a look. And again, this slides and everything that I actually just covered are going to be updated in the next month, so that we are always just going to be keeping you all updated. So this is the summary slide. This is something that I started with Azure DDoS, standard protection, which is going to be protecting all the resources deployed into the virtual network. Like every subscription in every region under the same tenant is going to be protected. So once it is implemented on the platform side for storage service, there's no need for your end customer to take care of the DDoS attacks anymore. You'll be able to just manage it for the customer. And Azure Application Gateway, as I mentioned, it is the mutual, is actually the authentication for the HTTP/HTTPS traffic. And then you are going to be able to just use even the wildcard setup and then you're going to be able to create a specific listener if you need to treat certain traffic differently for the end customer, which is something that you can use for custom networking and security solution for your end customer. So in a topology where all the customers' requirements are around listeners in the background, for example, HTTP and getting routed to the same backend pool, you can definitely just use either a single wildcard or just multiple wildcards on the application gateway side to be able to actually just provide your customer with granular routing. While you are doing it, of course, this is, again, like I repeated, this is going to be helping you not only help your customer augment their SAP workloads from security point of view, you will be able to increase your overall Azure consumption revenue, but more importantly, you'll be able to build that trust relationship with your customer. So with this, I am completing my secure SAP controls presentation. So this is my email address. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. So I am just going to make sure that I can answer your questions in a timely manner. If you have any feedback, you can also send me any feedback to this email address, and I'm going to be very happy to see your feedback. So with this, I would like to thank you for your viewing my video on security controls for SAP on Azure.